What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Franchise Empire newsletter. Today, we are going to talk about a resale for $215,000. And we actually have the cash flow amount that was reported to us, which we usually don't have. We'll talk about budget blinds. Is it a good investment? Budget blinds is quite interesting. It's definitely one of my more favorite franchises to talk about. So we're going to break down how much money the franchisees are making. We'll talk about what the startup costs are, as well as the fees that franchisees pay. So stick around for that. We'll talk about Eric's next chapter, which was a client of ours that we helped transition to becoming a franchise owner. And then we'll talk about one of the richest automotive businesses to start in 2026. So before we dive in, we have just a quick message to play for you. All right. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Tarek Johnson. I'm the CEO and founder of Franchise Empire, and I'm here with our head of brokerage extraordinaire, Mr. Mark Magerman. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Tarek. How are you?
Lovely.
It's always nice getting on with you. You say such nice things. It's like the only time all week people say nice things about me, so it's nice to hear.
You earned it. That's what happens when you're a badass.
I guess.
So before we jump into these opportunities, guys, by the way, if you do not get this newsletter in your inbox on Sunday mornings, you probably want to do that. So it's free. We send it out every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Then you don't have to wait until 1 o'clock on Wednesday for Mark and I to stream this. And you may find it easier and more convenient to just be able to scroll through it and read through it yourself. So go to franchiseempire.com/newsletter. You'll enter your email and boom, this will be in your inbox Sunday morning, 8 a.m. Now let's jump in. So Mark, I know that we have a pretty solid resale in this one today. So yeah, tell us about this resale.
Happy to. Every once in a while, your point is well taken, Tarek. When we get information from our brands on resales, we only can present to you what we get. In this case, they shared us a cash flow number, keeping in mind that this is the seller's claim on discretionary cash. Obviously, you got to do your own due diligence. More than likely, have a CPA or a business analyst help you. But home service category, which if you guys listen in on here, we love these home service businesses. They're made for franchising. The asking price, a moderate $215,000. I say moderate. It's not clearly it's not our money, Tarek, but it's not a high cost business to get involved with. Gross sales, which I'm assuming they will have all the backup materials, $668,000. Cash flow, $83,000. So that shows you, a little bit about 10, 12%, a little bit better that of the percentage of gross sales. So again, I always make the assumption that a business that's been around for a while, that $83,000 may not include debt service from this owner. So take that with a grain of salt. But this is a healthy business in a home service category that is, again, made to order for people who are looking to buy some resale businesses. This is a very mature brand. And when you have a brand this mature with over 300 franchisees, sometimes the only way to get into these brands, Tarek, are with resales because there's just not a lot of new territory available. So that's something to consider. Proven systems and support. And again, not a lot of new opportunities. When you get to 300 territories, or actually 300 franchisees, more than likely some of these franchisees own even more than one territory. So there could even be more territories that are gone. But this one will give you an opportunity to scale your business with room to grow. And once you're in that network, that's when these high net franchise owners come in and look to buy out others. So very ripe brand for that to happen. The model's proven with excellent experienced leadership at the top, really strong franchise development folks that we know very well. And again, as in any resale opportunity, it's just strongly recommended that you should have prior leadership and or management experience or have run a company before. That's always going to be a benefit. And because these resales are very, very popular, please do yourself a favor. If you want a really good look by the seller, show up at these meetings pre-approved, or at least with a pre-approval letter from your lender that says you can buy these businesses. If you don't have it, you're really just wasting time, because ask yourself this question: if you were selling a business, would you spend any amount of time talking to a person who wanted to buy it who couldn't prove that they were financially qualified? The answer would be no. So really solid business. Happy to help you guys. If this turns out not to be in an area that you live in, but you still want to check out some of our resales, you can see this little link on the bottom, franchiseempire.com/resales. You'll get on an appointment with one of our A+ team members, and we can guide you accordingly to see what may be available out in your area for resales and or new opportunities.
Mark, that was epic, and I think you just talked me out of a job. That was so good.
Last I checked, you were the boss and you write the paycheck, so I think you're good. I think you're solid.
Oh man, that was awesome. That was really, really good.
Osmosis. I mean, how many times have I been on these calls with you?
It's been a good bit, yeah, at this point, and definitely, and done some solo too.
Yep.
I think Mark pretty much covered it all, guys. It's easy to get a pre-approval letter if you have a decent income and credit score. Really, any bank that likes to do SBA loans will do it pretty easy, and they have a pretty tight process. In case you're wondering, how do you get a pre-approval letter? Huntington Bank is known for doing it. We can, if you want a specific referral, email us at info@franchiseempire.com, and we can always send you a referral to some lenders as well, or an introduction. But yeah, and we have over, I think, 100 resales in our portfolio all over the country. So if you're not in Maryland, but you're somewhere else, and you're like, hey, I wonder if they have resales, then hit us up and we can see. Let's see. I'll knock that one off there. Let's scroll down. I am still impressed by Allie's ability to find a very, very fitting GIF. What is that? What's her name? Anne Hathaway? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I just hope people on the call don't think that Anne Hathaway was our candidate, because I don't believe we've sold her franchises in the recent future. But I don't think she needs it, and more than likely, if she has a franchise, she's got an operator running it for her, right?
That's hilarious. Yes, 100%. So what we like to do, guys, is in our newsletter we're going to dive into the franchise of the week, which is budget blinds and their investment and costs and all of that stuff. You're going to want to see the numbers because they're very interesting. But we always like to just share the story of one of our clients / candidates that we've worked with and their journey, because number one, this is what our business is all about: helping individuals like you who are thinking about buying a franchise, and helping you figure out, number one, if it's the right path for you. Number two, if it is, how do you go about doing it the right way so that you can own a money-making franchise? Number two is that you may see yourself in some of these people, and something may be like, aha, if that person can do it, I can do it. Sometimes all it takes is a level of belief that, like, you know what, I can do this. I can do this. If that other person can do it, they sounded like me. If they're willing to make the leap or go for it, then I think I can too. So anyways, Mark, do you want to tell us a little bit about Eric?
Sure. Eric worked with I think he worked with Laura, which is one of our brokers, Laura Pfeiffer. Fantastic. So as is the case many times, bless you, we get candidates for all different reasons. In this case, Eric was furloughed from his job. So yeah, a lot of times when people lose their jobs, it springboards them into thinking they want to buy a franchise. I will say that a lot of people, just because they lost their job, doesn't make them qualified to become a good franchise owner. In Eric's case, that wasn't the case. So he got furloughed, excuse me, where he had the option. He decided it was time to take control of his own future, which is the story we get from so many of our candidates. He had a background in real estate, but he wanted something that was scalable and stable and something that can grow long term. The real estate market is kind of volatile now, and there's a lot of people in real estate who are looking into getting a franchise. So that made sense. So he came across Franchise Empire, I'm guessing through some of Tarek's really amazing content, and said the process was night and day from anything else that he experienced. So he had obviously reached out to other people before, came to Franchise Empire, stopped there because we gave him everything that we can. And one of the reasons we gave him Laura's aces. So with Laura's guidance, we narrowed down what really was important to him. He was looking for something quickly to ramp up. When we say quickly, we don't mean days, but we definitely mean months instead of years. Strong customer service and a real market demand. Eric was thoughtful. This is a quote from Laura, by the way. Eric was thoughtful, coachable, and committed from day one. He stayed open-minded, asked great questions, and made every step count. Boy, isn't that exactly the perfect model of what we're looking for? And I will say, kind of an offshoot, I remember Laura talking about Eric. He just had all this level of self-confidence. That's so critically important as a franchise owner. The best franchise brands in the world still have underperforming franchise owners. It's all about the level of confidence you bring to the table. Laura showed him several options. He found the perfect fit. Today, he purchased 2 territories, building his business that fits both his goals and his values. And we think he's going to be fantastic. And it'd be great to get him up on one of these calls one day. I think one of these times, maybe we get some of these candidates actually on these meetings, Tara, because that, they don't have to listen to you and me all the time. They'll talk to somebody really who's done it. So congratulations, Eric. And as usual, a stellar job by Laura.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great idea, Mark. To have a little quick client actual live scenario. Fantastic. Yeah, Laura clearly is a superstar and a rock star on our team. So awesome. Congrats, Eric. Really excited for you. Absolutely. And to get rocking and rolling. All right, let's move on. Excuse me, franchise of the week. By the way, as we go through this, so our franchises of the week that we've been highlighting, we've been doing the Franchise 500 series. So basically, we've just been going down the list of the Entrepreneurs Franchise 500 list. And not that we necessarily agree with the rankings, which is why we don't display them in here. We're just going down explaining like the most popular and largest franchises and how much they cost, how much the franchisees make. I think it's interesting. You drive past a McDonald's, you drive past a Burger King or whatever it is, and you go, I wonder how much those make. I wonder how much those cost to get open. So we answer that question. And but Budget Blinds just so happens to be one of those franchises that is actually in our portfolio too, because most of the time on here, we're covering brands that are not in our portfolio, which, by the way, like a typical franchise brokerage company would not do that. They would not put franchise brands and talk about them if it was in their portfolio, because we get no direct monetary benefit from that. We cannot place you with their brands because they're not in our portfolio. We don't have agreements with them. Turns out that this one is. Budget Blinds is within our portfolio. And we also have access to a bunch of the resales because, as you'll find out when we go through this, Budget Blinds has been around for a long time. And so as a franchise has been around for longer and longer, well, guess what? You have more and more franchisees that are ready to retire. Some of them are just having health issues, or they're just bored and they're done and they want to move on to the next thing. Just how you drive a car for 5 years and then you get bored of the car or you don't like it anymore and you want to upgrade and get a different car, so on and so forth. So let's talk about Budget Blinds and their history. And I have a story to tell you guys about Budget Blinds that I think you'll find very interesting. So they started out in 1992. So if I'm doing the math correctly, that's about 34 years that they've been around. So you could see why they would have a lot of resales available. And there's not a lot. There's like barely any new territory with Budget Blinds just because they've been around so long. But they started out in Orange County with a bunch of friends, and they had all worked inside a different blinds franchise, learned the business from the inside out, and then realized 2 things. That number 1, the product sold itself, and that number 2, the traditional retail model was holding them back. And obviously they had disrupted the industry at that time. The traditional retail model was the standard then. And so instead of opening showrooms, they just printed flyers, knocked on doors, and brought the showroom into the customers' homes, which was different at that time. And so each founder took on a role, which is something to there's a lesson there, right, for you. And when you wind up owning your business, or if you own a business right now, is if you have a co-founder, you or someone who owns the business with you, you cannot have the same skill sets. That is dumb to do that. If you're going to partner with someone, you guys should be opposites. One should be like sales focused, the other one should be operations focused. That's going to be the best duo and the best pairing. As an example, I'm naturally more operationally driven. Mark is great in business development and sales. That's like one of his unique abilities. So we're able to complement each other very, very well. So anyways, each founder took on a role: operations, marketing, sales, IT, and then franchise support. But they said there was 4. So maybe one of them did a hybrid of the two. And they kept the business lean while building the systems that scaled. And so by 1994, they franchised the business and became one of the earliest success stories in home services franchising before home services blew up. And the growth followed. They expanded across North America, added custom shutters, drapery, shades, smart home automation, and quietly built the largest window coverings franchise in the industry. Today, the brand operates over 1,400 territories, completes tens of thousands of installations each week without the overhead of the traditional retail. And so let's talk about the numbers of what it takes to own one of these on your own. And then I'll tell you, right after we go through the numbers, I'll tell you a story that you're going to want to hear about an individual and them owning budget blinds. Mark, have you ever used them as a service provider before, or hired a blind company or window treatment company, period?
No, but my wife certainly has. She has handled that side of our life. So me hiring someone to do blinds would be like her trying to figure out what's the best cigar to buy. So no, but we have used it. And the interesting thing there is my wife considers herself a do-it-yourselfer, and she likes doing a lot of stuff herself. But sometimes, even if you want to do things yourself, you should get advice from the pros. So that's what we did, and these guys were fantastic. I don't think it was budget blinds that she used, but yes, we did use a blinds company, and it was a really smart decision on our part.
Nice. Yeah, I remember when we a few months after we opened our store in California, and we were facing a direction where at about lunchtime, the sun just blasted through our large front window panel in the store. And so not only was it annoying, but it made the front area very hot. We're in Southern California. So Southern California sun is powerful. And so it turned out that there was a Supercuts next door, which is a franchise. And the guy that owned the Supercuts also owned a budget blinds. And so he wound up helping get, the custom length made, and then actually installed it himself. But I have a story to tell about that guy in a little bit towards the end. So total investment for budget blinds. This is a great low cost franchise, by the way, at least for new territories if they're open. The total investment ranges from between $100,000 to $211,000. The franchise fee is $19,950, but they do have an initial territory fee, and it's tiered, and the tiers depends on how many households are in your territory. So that's one of the ways to make it more fair in terms of the fee that you're paying, because there might be a bigger territory with more opportunity. You just pay a little bit more for it up front, which I think is well worth it. I would rather have a tier 1 territory and pay an extra $40,000 up front than have a tier 3 territory, because I think I would multiply the return on that investment many times over. Royalties, they're pivoting, and this is kind of a big deal within the system when they rolled this out. They had a flat fee model for, I think, since the inception. And you can see the tiers there of $2,500 a month at tier 1, $1,875 a month for tier 2, $1,250 a month for tier 3. And then as of January 2026, it's the greater of that amount or 3.5% of your gross revenue, which, by the way, 3.5% is very low compared to pretty much almost every other franchise brand. They're typically between 5 to 7% in terms of royalties. Anything else? Anything to add there, Mark? Anything on your mind that popped up there?
No, I think the comment you made about that 3.5% number being very low that's the point I was going to make. So you nailed that.
Okay, cool. Marketing fee, it ranges depending upon if you're tier 1, 2, or 3, $1,000, $1,000 a month for tier 1, $750 for tier 2, $500 for tier 3, until they have 1,500 territories, and then it goes up once they have 1,500.
All of this would be still valid for resales too if you bought a resale, because depending on what territory you bought, you'd grandfather into one of these categories. So this is for new or resale territories that someone acquires.
That's a really good point. Yeah, fantastic point there. Who's the ideal franchise candidate? Number one, sales-oriented owner. You're comfortable running in-home consultations and closing one-on-one with homeowners. Definitely, if you're starting from scratch. If you're buying a resale, depends on the resale. Actually, Bridget and I, about a year and a half ago, looked into buying a Budget Blinds resale that was pretty well performing. And they had multiple sales reps. They were doing a pretty significant amount in revenue, and they had multiple sales reps. So if we were going to go in and buy it, that maybe we fill in the gaps, or Bridget would have been filling in the gaps. But I don't think the owner, depending upon if you buy something that's performing really well, they might have a team in place already that does the sales overall. Turns out we got outbid by an existing franchisee. Not even outbid, actually. The owner delayed our conversation, pushed it back a couple weeks, and then like a few days later was like, we struck a deal with our neighboring franchisee. And so I know Mark talks about it a lot. It's a really valid point that if your goal is to one day buy a franchise resale, so one of the best ways to do it is to buy into the brand you want to be in, and then eventually buy your neighbors out. And that's one of the most popular ways that franchisees scale, is by getting in there, building relationships, and then over the years, then acquiring their neighboring franchisees. I'll drop the story here now, and then we'll cover the numbers of the average sales. But so Adam, the guy that owned the Supercuts next to my store, him and his business partner bought one, I believe it was one territory, might have been two initially, either one or two territories of Budget Blinds as a resale, and they were able to get it performing even better. And then slowly but surely, they acquired neighboring franchisees. I think once they got to like the fourth or fifth or sixth territory, they just became known in the Southern California market. Like, hey, if you want to wind up exiting your business and selling, go reach out to Adam. And then they got up to 9 or 10, and then they did a giant deal and bought out like the whole Palm Springs, Palm Desert market as a resale, and bought the entire franchisee out. I think it was like 3 or 4 territories, and they doubled the size of their business with that acquisition. So, I mean, Adam just crushes it, and he has a serious operation. I mean, he has a general manager, he has a sales manager, a team of salespeople, and a team of installers. He runs a very significantly sized business. That's also the cool thing about some of these home services brands, is really you can go as big as you want. So, Mark, what are your comments or things that are popping in your head from that?
A lot, actually. The conversation about a brand like Budget Blinds that doesn't have a lot of available territories, the reseller out is sometimes a preferred way. And sometimes people don't like hearing this, but the way we look at brands, one of the criterias for us on how do you gauge whether franchisees are happy in their brand? How do you know, right? Brands are going to say we have really good franchise satisfaction. Well, one way is to actually talk to franchise owners, but another barometer we look at is, are other franchisees buying out their neighbors when they're selling? If the answer is yes, that usually means it's a really strong, strong, strong brand because they're you get to know each other. Your story about the guy they called you back and said, we're going to sell it to our other franchisee, our neighboring franchisee. Probably what happened is that neighboring franchisee didn't throw his hat in the ring. You did. So he was talking to you. As soon as the franchisee said, I'm interested, not only would the seller be interested in selling it to an existing franchisee, but the brand probably prefers it as well because they know these
Yeah.
people. So again, it's a great point about, we deal with people all the time, Tarek. People who come to us thinking they want resales, and sometimes they're just not available. So we try to convince them, if you start about coming in and buying a new area and start building that out, you never know. It's really the way to go. If I was going to do it and there was a brand I really wanted as a resale but couldn't get it, I'd earn that resale by going through the new territory route. It's just something to think about for people. We talk about it all the time, but it really makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, you just sometimes waiting and waiting and waiting for what? Death before you move forward on it. And some people, there are people who've been looking for 5 years for that one resale to show up on their lap. It's just not going to happen. You got to make it happen for yourself. And that's a great example of that.
Yeah, totally agree. 100%. Let's dive into the numbers. So when we look at the franchise disclosure document, we look at the 2024 numbers. You can see on the left-hand side, they show the average sales if you own one territory versus if you own two territories or if you own three or more. So three or more could, there's a wide range on that, clearly. But we get a lot of insight on the 1 and 2 territories. So if the average franchisee does $853,000 in sales as of 2024, and that's up from 2023, which is a good thing. And the owners who own 2 territories, 1.25 million, and up from 1.23, so up just slightly. Average sales 3 or more territories, 2.5 million. That's actually down from 2023, where it was 2.7 million. And in about April here, we'll have the 2026 FDDs coming out, and then we'll be able to start seeing the 2025 numbers for a lot of these franchise brands, which will be nice to be able to see that.
If I could add one other comment, Tark, if you don't mind scrolling back up for 1 second, I just want to point out, when you look at the numbers for the average of 1, 2, and 3 territories, the average for 3 is about 3 times what the average for 1 is. That would make logical sense. The cost to buy 3 is not 3 times the cost of the first. That's where you start seeing these economies to scale on multi-units. Because what you get to a point is, if you hire a general manager, you don't have to hire a second general manager for that second territory. So the costs become more allocated across the whole company. And that's why multi-unit deals is the way to go, folks, because you're scaling a business. You're not adding the incremental cost, but you get to keep the money. So just wanted to point that out. It's a perfect example of it right with that slide.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I mean, the name of our company is Franchise Empire. So if you want to build an empire, it's typically not going to happen with one territory.
No.
Unless you're in a unique brand where the territories are giant, or you just so happen to just crush it. I mean, there are some anomalies out there where someone just produces an absurd amount of revenue in one territory, but you hear about these people, they own 5, 10, 15, 20 of different franchises or territories or brands, etc. And that's typically going to happen with multiple.
Yeah, and excuse the shameless plug here, but that doesn't mean one territory businesses are not worthwhile, right? If you owned one territory of Budget Blinds and you were producing $850,000 in revenue, and you maybe had a very lean, maybe 1 or 2 people working for you, but you were an owner operator, you were very involved. If you can deliver 20% profit on that and put 160 grand in your pocket, that might be just exactly what your life's looking for. So that could be perfect for you. Again, we like to talk to people who are thinking big. Tarek and I are kind of big thinkers. We've kind of done that in our lives. So we're always gilding people toward that. But again, that's the beauty of these franchise models, is you carve it out the way you see fit for yourself.
Yeah. It's a great point. It's really about starting with the end in mind and what your end goal and objective is. And
absolutely.
I forget sometimes that not everyone wants to take over the world like myself and Mark. I remember
Yeah.
a client that we worked with. He bought into a home inspection business, and he specifically was like, "Yeah, I don't want a business with a lot of employees. Like, I want to do most of the work." And it actually makes it a little bit challenging because most franchisors don't really want. That's not who they're looking for. They want people who want to build bigger businesses. But he was able to find one that worked out well for him. He would actually go out and do the home inspections, and like very happy. He started making content actually of when he'd do these home inspections and find crazy things. And I think he started posting the videos to TikTok, and he started to get tens of thousands of views on it. So it's pretty cool overall. And he was just clear, like, hey, I don't want a company that I have a bunch of people working for me. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah. And shameless plug number two, we know which brands prefer one territory do-it-yourselfers and none that don't. So we can guide you. There are some that are more than happy to talk to one territory owners, and we know which ones they are. So only one way to find
Valid
out.
point.
Click on the bottom and get on someone's calendar.
Yes. 100.
Excuse me.
100%. Yeah, guys. So we're not going to talk about the run through all the benefits. We talked, I think, enough about budget blinds. But if you're interested in number one, finding out if any of them are available in your territory, very rare with budget blinds. Although there are some other similar brands in the same space that are newer, that have more territory availability, that have a great reputation and franchisees that are proven. Or if you're just like, hey, look, I have no idea what sort of franchise I want. I've been Googling around, just kind of perusing, not even sure, but I would love to know what would work for my skill set, what I would enjoy doing, what aligns with, my financial resources, and what's available in my area. Then same thing, go to franchiseempire.com/check territory, and our team will be able to guide you through that process. We have a very systematic approach. You do a science-backed franchise matching assessment that lets us in on knowing how you're wired. And it's just very, very process-driven, as opposed to what we hear often is people are just winging it, basically.
Yeah. So just one last comment, Tarek. I'll piggyback on what you just said. Again, we just talked about this budget blind being very hard to find new territories. We've also spoken in the past about, if you don't have prior business ownership experience, resales may not be for you. So that doesn't mean we can't help you. Tarek mentioned this. We're very creative and we're very systematic in finding brands that are going to come into our portfolio. So we have a couple of other blind portfolios that are also very, very good, that may have more territory availability. So again, you don't want to square peg and round hole it. If you don't think a resale is for you for the reasons we've pointed out, but you think the blind business might be good, another reason to get on our calendar, because maybe one of the other blind businesses has something a little cool and unique to it that may resonate with you a little bit more. So there is something for everyone. You don't need to just dive into something if you don't think it matches what your goals or your skill set might be.
Yeah, it's a really good point. All right, last but not least is a video that we did on one of the richest automotive businesses, to start in 2026.
That's not really a picture of you in that outfit with the wrench in your hand, is it, Tarek? I can't imagine that's actually you.
I live a secret life, Mark,
All right, well,
and have
there you
some
go. Live and
skill
learn.
sets
Live and learn. Live and learn.
And the size of my head is not quite proportionate to the body there.
I was going to say that one too. But that Allie's very creative, isn't she?
Yes. Well, we have a thumbnail. We have a dedicated thumbnail person on the team. We have a person that just does the thumbnails.
Yeah,
I've never met them, actually. I don't even know what their name is, because they're a contractor that the marketing team, Allie, oversees, and works with them collaboratively. But they come out with some great thumbnails, and that's very clever. So yeah, we break down a top automotive franchise, actually Valvoline Quick Lube. And again, if you ever driven by a Valvoline or a Quick Lube location and think, I wonder how much those things make, I wonder how much they cost to get open, then we're going to break down not just their startup costs / initial investment, but we'll dive into their average sales. How many oil changes per day are the top average poor locations doing? and what the average amount is, which is very interesting. And if you ever want to own a business, that's part of the basic economics that you need to understand, is like, how many transactions do I need a day, and what is my average cost, or not average cost, average ticket. And that the language is just different if you're in a service business versus a retail business, etc. But the financial principles are the same. So you can find this video on our Franchise Empire YouTube channel. It's going to start playing an ad because it opens up on the one that I don't pay for the ad free on, but you can see our Franchise Empire YouTube channel. You can go watch that there, or you can just listen to it via any audio podcast platform. We're pretty much on all of them. So that's it, and that's all. Mark, anything to close out with?
No, another good opportunity to chat with some of our potential candidates, and we'd love to hear from somebody. So if you have questions or just want to talk, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, or if you want to debate Mark about how the Patriots are not going to go to the Super Bowl this year, request him, and I'm sure he'll happily debate you, and it'll be an entertaining moment for everyone.
Well, just so you know, I did, and I do this every year, even though the last several years I've lost. I always put money on my Patriots before the year starts to win the Super Bowl every year.
Interesting.
So I did it this year, even though there was a long shot. So I don't want to tell you the odds, but let's just say that I'm 2 victories away from earning myself a very nice paid vacation via gambling. So let's see what happens.
Okay, so now for that reason, I'm rooting for you, because that sounds awesome.
Well, again, the beauty is the odds, right? I don't mortgage my house to bet because the odds are so extravagant. When a team wins 4 games the year before, their odds aren't great that they're going to win the Super Bowl. So,
did you place any bets on them going to the AFC Championship, or no?
I just know I've been doing it for many, many years. So when they were winning all those Super Bowls, you didn't win much money because the odds weren't great. But I put $100 down every year on them to win the Super Bowl, and the odds were very, very in my favor this year. I put the wager in back in August. I got the ticket in my drawer. I know where it is, and if they're fortunate enough to win this week in Denver, and then fortunate enough to win in the Super Bowl, trust me, Tarek, you'll know. You'll know that I'm victorious.
That's awesome. Good stuff, man.
Yeah,
All right, Mark, have a good rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you very much. Bye, guys.
All right, bye.